night, everybody, or Botard. It's always difficult to know whether we're Botard or not. I'm happy to be coached about that in the comments. Good evening to you all. And it is fantastic to have all premium member VIPs here this evening for our cost of living in Portugal special. We do have our team members here to help with that. And it'd be a great favor to me, Astrid, if you would be able to unmute those folks so they can step in with their intel on what they have to say about gas, water, electricity, internet/phone, mobiles. And Jerry very wisely pointed out that we should talk about tolls as well, because that's definitely quite a big cost of living if you're out and about in your motor vehicle. So let's start with gas then, without further ado. A funny one, gas in Portugal. A lot of people use gas bottles, and I can answer that fairly, before we go to Hayley, Pam, Jerry or Astrid, I can answer that fairly simply by saying a gas bottle for me with a family with 3 kids running hot water. And it does feel a little bit primitive at first, but we got used to it. Hot water for a family of 5, usually a month's supply in a gas bottle of butane. There's propane and butane that you pick up from supermarkets and petrol stations, gas stations, for you Americans. And they're around 25 euros. And that's going to last me personally and our family about a month. So I'll go to Hayley, Pam, Astrid, Jerry as well to chip in about gas. And also, of course, any questions you've got, put them in the chat. Please, expat team, let us know what your demographic situation is, as it were, and what your costs are around gas if you use them. Who would like to pick that up?
Well, I'm pretty quick. I don't have gas, although I'd love it. But we don't have gas.
It's quick.
We're completely electric, so I can't contribute for the gas cost.
But that is an interesting point to make, Astrid, isn't it? Because not all homes are geared up for pipeline gas. And if you wanted to, I guess you could use a gas bottle, but it might be a little difficult with some sort of apartment setups as well. So not everywhere is equipped for gas. That might come as some disappointment to some of the cooks among people here, because I know a lot of people like to cook with gas. So that can be disappointing. You need to be checking it out. Hayley, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm Hayley, and I'm living in Lourdes, which is to the little north of Lisbon. It's in the district of Lisbon, but it's in another municipality. So I live in an apartment. My husband is Portuguese, so we're just 2 of us. And our whole building has natural gas. So we have natural gas in our building, and I have a contract of natural gas and electricity, which is with a company called Endesa. So our bill is together. And it helps when we got our apartment. The previous owners also had Endesa, which was for electricity and gas. So we had to just change over the name. It was a transfer of name that we had to do in our case. And it also helps if you have the previous bill of the previous resident who's residing there, because in terms of there are certain codes and there are the meter readings, it is helpful for the transfer process. However, even if you don't have the previous owner's details, it doesn't matter, because there's always a technician who comes to check everything for your gas and electricity in my case, and they check the readings and everything. So just to give a month of gas for natural gas for us, for 2 of us comes to about 18 or 19 euros. Yes.
Wow. Okay. That's for both things, or for just for the gas?
No, that's just for the gas.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Sorry. Okay.
18 a week?
No, a month.
Wow.
That's good. Jerry's impressed. So I'm looking at about 25 with my gas bottle, and Hayley there in Lourdes is looking at 18 or 19 a month, you're saying?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay. A question about gas. Our new house will be connected to the mains gas, says Jeff. Is it the same as UK, i.e. methane, and how much per kilowatt, or whatever the measurement is for gas? Would you know the answer? Putting you on the spot there, Jerry, would you know the answer to that?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. I'm not on the mains. I buy gas in bulk. The house, we have I suppose, a medium-sized house, 2 people. That has underfloor heating, which is expensive to run anyway. It was running, when we bought the house, they'd set it up to run on gas bottles, which were quite expensive on the large bottles. And builder suggested we have a tank installed in the garden, which we did. And we need to fill that tank twice a year to keep the house warm and supply our heating and supply hot water when the solar panels are not working. So twice a year, the average cost is €800 a fill. So 1,600 a year, which is way over what you're paying, Carl, and especially you, Haley. So I'm embarrassed.
Yes.
But I'm warm.
True, and you don't have to drive down to the gas station to get a new bottle.
Not at all. I go online to Repsol, I place an order, and they deliver it within a couple of days and send me the invoice on I pay them online. So it's very simple to do, if slightly expensive. But I have to say that I don't think the system is working as efficiently as it could do, and we're waiting for an engineer to come and sort of check it over. But I'm not into the Portuguese lifestyle of hopping from room to room and being cold. We keep the whole house quite warm.
I would love to talk about that more, but this is about utilities. I mean, there is a really interesting whole cultural, contextual thing about how Portuguese people keep warm or not actually in the winter. But let's stick to what people might be expecting and anticipating coming over. And I think we won't move to water. We'll stay with electricity because of Haley's.
Just, give some feedback on gas.
Absolutely, Pam, is that?
Sorry, I do have natural gas at home. So it's not bottled gas. And there's just two of us here in a 3-bed apartment. And we pay, like Haley, we pay gas and electricity combined. And normally it's €67 for both for a month. And we pay Galp. It's a different company that we pay. But last month we used the central heating quite a lot. Because it was very, very cold, and it was a lot more. We paid 95 that month.
Okay.
So our gas bill was double because we had the central heating on.
Right.
We only had it on a few hours a day.
It sounds like you're very prudent there and really on top of the expenditure. And that's really helpful, Pam. Thank you for that.
Yeah, my husband is obsessed with meter readings. He does meter readings every month.
I think it's good to have one of those in the partnership for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got his figures tonight.
That's terrific. Thank you very much. And are you happy to share those in the forum later on if people want, because this will be data, this will be information overload tonight in many ways. And I think we should refer back to the expatsportugal.com forum /community, expatsportugal.com/community. And we'll get anything you might have missed tonight. We'll pop that up in the forum there. Thanks, Pam. That's terrific. In Alcobaça, you say the Silver Coast of Portugal, right?
Yes.
And how is that? I mean, in terms of setting the context for utility use, what sort of winters do you have over there? Because you obviously have beautiful summers, and that's why people love the coast. What is it like in the winter? Good evening, Umberto.
It's not so cold as more inland, I think. It has been very cold this year, but there was a little flurry of snow, I think, in Leiria, but we didn't get any. I've seen a photo of Alcobaça with snow that people share occasionally, and it's from the 1950s.
It's quite safe then.
I think there's a little bit in the 80s too.
Wow.
In Benedita.
Amazing. Okay,
it's
so
cold, but not snow cold.
Brilliant. So Pam is your absolutely brilliant asset there over in the Silver Coast, everybody, if you need to find out more about the Silver Coast. So let's stay with electricity and the combined situation. I know, Jerry, somebody was asking about the underfloor heating. That might come into the conversation about electricity, because presumably that is electric coils of underfloor heating there, right?
No, it's hot water. It's heated by the gas.
Oh, okay.
By the gas boiler. It's very good. It does keep the house very warm, but you tend to have to keep it on all the time. It's not like it's not very programmable, because if you turn it off, it takes hours to bring the house back up to temperature. So I'm not sure I would recommend it if you're starting from scratch. And it is, and certainly compared with our colleagues here tonight, it is very expensive.
Yeah. Okay. And Jerry, available, of course, as well on the forum there to talk about that method of heating. Okay, fantastic.
I will just say that on top of the gas heating cost, we have a fire, so we spend more money on firewood as well.
Oh, we've got to talk about lenha. I think that's called in
Yeah.
Portuguese,
Yes.
right? Okay, so let's talk about firewood too. We've all had our wood stoves on, I think, in the last couple of weeks, haven't we? Absolutely. And yeah, thank you for that question, Janine, about how big is the bulk tank. So back to you, Jerry, on that. We'll talk about gas bottle size.
Yes, it's 1,000 litres.
1,000 litres, okay.
And so depending on the price of gas when you order, it can cost me 800 to 900 euros per fill up. And obviously, depending on what quantity, I normally order some when I'm down to 25%.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so the 1,000-litre tank is available to put in the garden, caged up presumably, and then the tanks you can buy at the petrol station are usually those ones. I don't. Forgive me, I don't know the litre size, but I know they're up to your knee. They're knee high.
Yeah.
It's in weight.
And what is the knee high one, Umberto?
There are 33 kilos
Yeah.
bottles and 13 kilo bottles. The normal ones which you have in the kitchen is 13 kilos.
Okay, and the big fella at 33 is kind of shoulder height, isn't it? And
Yes, they are the big ones.
they're better delivered by the company rather than you trying to wrestle that into the back of your car.
Yes.
All right.
And you have to, I think you have to rent them, the bottles. Well,
Yeah.
you have to rent them anyway, but the big ones you have to make a contract with the guys.
Okay, and with the 13s, you basically keep one in hand, and you take your empty and get a full one. That's how it works. As anyone knows who's been camping, I guess that's the analogy to make is that. Umberto, did you want to add anything about gas while we're talking about it?
Well, gas. I have my heating system is a different way because I thought about a way, or thought if I build up a house, how can I keep it in a good standard, in a comfortable way in the winter? Because here last week we had snow and it stood for 2 days. So it is snow cold here. And I have a combination that I made with solar panels, combining with gas, electricity, and wood burners.
Uh-huh.
And I have to say that is it's quite easy to run, and it's not so expensive, and it's very comfortable. I think Astrid can confirm it. She has been here already.
Very warm.
And you'll be able to tell from Umberto's accent there is a German ethic at work in his home design, insulation, the whole thing there. He's a really good person to talk to about home design and insulation and heating and so on. As is Jeff, by the sound of it, who's let it out the bag that he's a heating consultant. So I'll have a look when I get to Portugal, says Jeff. Make a note of that, everybody. Underfloor heating should be cheaper than radiators, but Jeff's going to be an amazing resource to us. Jerry.
You're on, Jeff. I'm your first customer. As soon as you can get here, please.
A consultation at Shea Lawler there for Jeff. First bit of work arriving on Portuguese soil. That's fantastic. So let's have a look then.
I might just add that actually getting a proper heating engineer is proving very difficult where I am in central Portugal.
Okay.
Mostly heating systems are installed by builders, and they're not necessarily professionally qualified on the systems that they install. And so although I've had 3 or 4 different people look at my system, they all end up scratching their heads and coming up with the different solutions, and none have given any sort of confidence of what I really need to do to get this working properly. So it can be difficult to find someone like Jeff, I guess, certainly in this part of Portugal and central Portugal.
An opportunity for Jeff, absolutely. I bought a house with oil heating. Now, nobody present here, as far as I'm aware, has oil heating, and obviously the same tanker delivery of oil in the way that Jerry has gas delivered. So what I will do for you there, Wendy, is I'll put that in our forum and we'll see what we can do. That is if you have that may be more of a statement than a question. Go on, Astrid.
Well, I did have a friend who had oil heating in his house, and he found it to be really expensive, and so switched it to a heat pump. So that's the only thing I know about oil heating. And actually, Humberto, Joanne had oil heating at her place too, and it unfortunately was very, very expensive for her. So she just ended up running on wood. So just be careful. I think it's because they used to put a lot of oil heating in homes when oil was really cheap, and now it's become quite expensive. So if all the people that have the oil heating doesn't necessarily get good value for money anymore. So that's my understanding.
Excellent. Humberto, I think you wanted to add something there, right, about oil?
Yes. Not only that, I think the reason is because you never know where the taxes are going up on oil products or whatever. So I decided to make it as diverse as possible. So you have solar, electricity, gas, and wood, leña halt.
Yeah, then yeah.
So because I decided that if for instance, if electricity falls down or something will not work, you will stay a whole night waiting for the EDP to solve the problem in a very cold ambience. So I decided that I have alternatives. So if electricity shuts down, I go on my log wood and it keeps on working. The whole system keeps on working. Yeah, and also I have the solar panels, which helps you a lot to get some energy. So you don't need to heat so much up. Even in cold days, the solar panels will bring up a certain kind of temperature, which is quite good to help to heat up the house. So you need only a few energy extra to get the temperature that you want.
Amazing. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is that we should probably have a group of like a complementary energy group, alternative energy group on our forum to talk about all of these, because Anna very wisely has brought in pellets as well. Pellet burners are very popular in Portugal now, and they're for sale at Leroy Merlin and other kind of DIY places. So pellet burners definitely are coming into vogue in Portugal. Anybody here have one of those and would like to chip in? Let us know in the chat, please. And Jeff mentioning yet another source of heating, ASHPs, which to me, that's ground source heat pumps, right, Jeff?
Yeah,
go on, Humberto. Expensive.
Yes, this is a very good option, but I don't think that here it is good to do because we are sitting on granite rocks and it's very difficult to dig a hole here.
Okay. Air source rather than ground source, says Jeff, which is
okay.
Curveball there. We will again factor that into further discussion on the forum. So thanks for the mention of that, Jeff, and a really good comprehensive spread of options there for people. Let's come back to utilities and electricity. The horrific price of electricity in Portugal. Am I right? Haley, would you like to talk? No, Humberto, I think, says no.
I don't know. It's 22 cents what I'm paying for a kilowatt here.
Okay. Can you give us the context, the comparison there?
So I have a medium expense here in electricity, about between 35 and 45 euros a month.
Okay. All right. So we're getting some good figures here for heating up a family home, I think. Haley, I think people are waiting to find out what your whole combined bill is. We've heard about the gas part, under 20 euros. So tell us how it works for the whole lot with this company. Endesa, was it? Did you say?
Endesa, that's right.
Endesa.
Yes. For electricity, so it comes to around 45.50. But of course, I have the heating with electricity. I have electric heater, so that's when I use it more now this time, though I also have a fireplace. So we alternate. If it's the bedroom, then we have to use the electric heater. So that's when it goes up a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I guess because it's natural gas, it comes to around normally 40, 45, but probably this month would be a bit more because we've used it a bit more with the cold. So together about 45 and 20. So that's around 65. That's for electricity and gas.
Okay, that's really wonderful. Thank you very much for that. So I think we're pretty much, we've talked about gas and electricity there. We have a comparison from Val, who says in Florida, 10.8 cents per kilowatt. So I have to say, in Portugal, I was quite shocked by the size of the electricity bill when we were trying to live. And this goes to what you're saying, Vladimir. At what temperatures do you keep your houses in winter? Obviously, it depends on your comfort zone. When we were trying to heat the house to the same sort of level we were accustomed to, EDP were massively expensive. And the other thing to say about electricity, which people should know about, is there is a rateable sort of current value that comes into the house. A lot of people, when they first get to Portugal, put on an electric heater, the toaster maybe, and the kettle, and then they find themselves plunged into darkness at an inconvenient moment. And that's because you can alter the amperage coming into the house, the current rating coming into the house. So that's something to definitely bear in mind when you do your negotiation with your electricity company, is what level of current is coming into the house, so that you don't blow everything every time you switch something on. Haley, you're nodding there. Did you encounter that?
No, we use a 4.6.
Okay.
So that's about enough for, it's a 3-bedroom apartment as well. So that's more than enough for us. We've not had any problems so far.
Oh, that's really good to know. So 4.6 is the rating you chose, and
Yes.
that is dealing with your T3 adequately.
That's right. Yes.
Excellent. Good to know. Other intel on that also very gratefully received in the chat about different rateable values coming in. Jerry, you've got the actual figures there, right?
For electricity, yes, I have. I'm paying on average 98 euros per month with EDP. That's based over my last 12 months. That's for I have 2 electric meters, one for the general house and the other for a borehole. For some reason, we have to have a separate meter for the borehole. I think it's charged at a lower rate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so running the house, but it's on, just standard electrical items, no heating or a keg, and very rarely we might switch on an electric heater. It's costing us about 98 euros per month.
Okay. Astrid, would you care to share yours?
I'm in a 4-bedroom apartment. It's quite a large space. We have everything with electricity, so all our cooking's with electric, our ovens electric. We also have underfloor heating, which is on pretty much all the time during winter. And we pay between 65 and 125 euros a month on electricity, and we're based in Lisbon, in Sintra, so the city rates.
Great, thank you. Have I missed anyone or anything there with figures or input from our team?
Well, I think I mentioned my electricity in the
Your
with the
combined,
gas, so it's 40-45 per month
for the electric part.
for the electric, yeah. And our potencia, which I think is a rating you were talking about, is 6.9. I don't know if that's unusual.
It sounds ample. If
it's fine, we have no problems. Okay. It was just the same from when we bought it, so we didn't do anything.
And thank you for that, Pam. It's called in Portuguese potencia, is the rating for the electricity coming into the building. That's worth writing down, everybody, because it's, if you don't know what's happening, it's very very scary when you just put the kettle on and everything plunges into darkness. You might have to change your potencia. Great questions about solar panels offsetting the cost of buying electricity. We might come back to that if we've got time. It's certainly another forum thing. And air conditioning, the whole business of air conditioning, which of course can be heating too. We will return to that, but we must move on now to the very important business for many people of internet. Who would like to pick this up first of all? Because I know when we're talking about the internet, we need to talk about the quality of the internet when you've got fiber or some more difficult connection, as I think you'll probably tell us, Jerry. But then the combination of that with TV and phone, the landline specifically. We'll talk about mobile separately. So Jerry, do you want to go with that and your adventure with Wi-Fi?
Okay. Well, I have a standard package with Mio. Includes mobile phone, home internet, and their TV service, which I never use, but they always tell me that it's cheaper to include it rather than exclude it. And that costs me 65 euros per month. Wi-Fi comes via 4G. I cannot get fiber to the house. I'm sort of been fighting for 4 years now to try and get fiber to the house. And even though it's available sort of 2 kilometers away, we can't seem to get it here. And even though we have 5 other neighbors who've all signed up and said, yes, they want fiber as well, we still can't seem to get it. So we're dependent on receiving a signal from our local tower, which on a good day is okay. We can get between 8 to 10 megabytes per second download, which is okay for all the things we need to do in terms of running PCs and watching TV and Netflix and stuff like that. But sadly, of course, the minute the tower gets hit with a lot of usage, you know, like when school kicks out and all the kids turn on their phones, our megabytes per second just plummets. And for some reason, don't know whether it was the weather or whatever it was happening last night, we were down to less than 1 megabyte per second for most of last night.
Okay.
So we played Scrabble.
Very good. Excellent reframing of the evening. But this is a big deal for people, obviously. There are people coming to Portugal whose livelihoods are dependent on their internet connection, working from home and so on. So you really need to check what's coming in. And it's worth asking somebody who lives in that part of the village, town, city, wherever you are, apartment block, if it's true what the company is saying, because they will tell you, yes, no problem, we'll bring you fiber there. And it might not be true, as it turns out in the end. So make sure there is an established connection in your own experience, folks. Is that unlimited, Jerry? Anna is asking.
Yes, unlimited. I think I have. The phone is limited when I'm outside, when I'm away from the house, away from the Wi-Fi, but it doesn't cause me any issues. I have plenty of limit on and the home is unlimited. What I found was when I checked before I moved here, I was absolutely assured that I could get up to 30 megabytes per second download. The words I didn't hear were up to.
Okay, make another.
And so when I challenge them and say, well, I'm only getting 6, they say, well, you know, we only said up to 30. So I couldn't agree more with your advice, Carl, and not just accept what these companies tell you, but check it out with the local.
Yeah.
And particularly in the rural areas. Now I know Humberto will say something very different in a moment, but certainly in my area, there's actually no great demand for internet at home. You know, people seem to be happy with 1 megabyte per second or something.
Yeah.
And so we can't seem to persuade the companies to come here.
Very interesting. And let's just to reiterate then, you have a package of, because the interesting thing here is it includes a mobile service as well for your 65 euros.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you've got your internet, you've got your TV package, you've got mobiles, and you have presumably an old-fashioned landline as well if you want it in that, because it has to come through them.
Yes. Well, they actually give you another mobile.
Yeah.
Which again we don't need, but they tell you that you know, well, it's better that you have it. Yeah. So they give you this. So you got all this stuff just put away in a drawer somewhere. But yeah, it includes the mobile phone.
Amazing. And don't throw any of that kit away, folks. From bitter experience, if you do not return the kit when your contract is over, you'll be charged handsomely for it, as Vodafone tried to do to me recently, 200 euros on my bill because I hadn't taken the stuff back. And they couldn't provide the service to me. Fortunately, I had taken it back. But remember that you're contractually bound. And there are other aspects of the contract that are quite shocking, which we'll go into, I'm sure. But remember to take your stuff back. You know, if you're used to just leaving it in the attic or whatever, don't. Take it back to a shop, get a receipt for it. Otherwise, they will charge you for it. Alcobaça, what's it like over there, Pam, with your internet package and so on?
A little bit better. I just measured it out of interest.
Nice.
I'm with NOS, and they guarantee on fibre. They guarantee 100 megabytes per second. It's currently 90.
Wow.
So take it back.
Yeah, it's not quite what they guarantee, but it's fine. The one complaint I have had with them is that the Wi-Fi drops out a lot. So I run my computer wired.
Okay.
Because they don't guarantee anything for Wi-Fi.
Right.
It's like an optional extra, and if you've got walls, they don't want to know.
Right. The distinction being there that the fiber is excellent to the house and to your router, but then you're on your own pretty much with the Wi-Fi connection around your dwelling.
Yeah, so I've put in a cable from my router to my computer.
Yeah.
So I'm wired. I'm not using Wi-Fi at the moment.
It'll be all
And
that
it's-
Portuguese coffee. But I get what you mean. Yeah, okay.
You
That's
can't get it at the moment.
Oh, that's true. Oh gosh, I should have said that.
But
Homemade coffee only.
I have a suggestion, because I brought this power line things. So I have connected in one place the router by wire to this power line connector, and then
Yes, I've done the same.
you switch only. I have one here. I can show you. It's something like this. Yeah, it's where you can put. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
You put it just in a socket, and from that room you have immediate connection and perfect, because it goes by the power line through the socket.
So you're using your ring mains as a way of extending your Wi-Fi.
Yes, all over. So I have a guest house, and I have so I just put it in the socket, and then you have the perfect internet.
The perfect internet. That's what we're searching for. It's almost a human right and part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs these days. Hayley, did you want to add something to that?
Well, I have, sorry, the screen just went off. Hello, yeah. So I have Vodafone, and I have the television, I have the landline, and I have the fiber, the Wi-Fi. I don't have the mobiles with that, because that we have a different connection. And it is 500 Mbps. The download and upload is 100. Sometimes I do get even 502, 530. So I am fortunate, but it's not always the same. And in the bedroom, I have the router, the extender, like what Hamato just shared. So it depends. It depends. I've had no problems as such, no major problems that I can complain, but I have Vodafone, yes.
Great. I'm sorry. You may have said, but I was looking at the chat as well. What's the cost of the package there for you?
It's 35. Sorry, I didn't mention it.
Okay, 35. That seems pretty standard. My Mayo service, which has TV on top of it, for the fiber part is 37.48 to be exact, and the TV part is 7.99. So far, yeah, 45 it is for me with Mayo with the TV, and they've been pretty good, I have to say. I reported a problem, it went off, and by the time, it was my error really that I didn't get to them soon enough, or couldn't work out how to do it, like a user error thing. But as soon as they knew, they came and they sorted it the day after. So I'm very happy with Mayo, and that's 45 for fiber and TV. Anything else to say, team, about specifically internet and phone landlines and TV packages? There was, go on.
Just about the
I
TV.
must have a similar package to Hayley. We're with Vodafone as well. So we have internet, 2 TV boxes to have, one in the bedroom, one in the lounge room, 500 gigabyte speed, and also with HBO. So the internet TV comes, so it's like 80 channels plus HBO, which is probably an overload, and we pay €35 a month for that too.
Which sounds like pretty good value, isn't it? Maybe not compared to America, we don't know. So team, before we move on to mobiles then, mobile deals specifically, and other mobile questions, best cable option for English TV, American and British. So who's still attached to American or British TV and has a way of dealing with that, and what does it cost, if anything?
Well, I'll start with, I mean, first of all, Netflix is easily available here in Portugal. As long as you have reasonable internet, that works fine. From memory, it costs about €11 a month. I think that's right. It is the European version of Netflix, so it's not as comprehensive as the US version of Netflix.
Interesting.
But I still think it's fairly comprehensive.
Yeah.
The other thing that certainly for European TV that we have is a thing called an IPTV box, which is tuned into the British Freeview channels. And so we have access to all the UK TV, BBC, ITV, Sky, all those programs, all the news programs and so on, and some like a video collection and stuff like that, which which seems to be sort of limitless. For that, we pay €15 a month for the subscription. The other things that we did have Prime Video, but we've dropped that now because since Brexit, Prime Video's Amazon, for some reason, cannot deliver the same service to Europe as they have in the UK. And so they're putting you onto, I think it's a German service, and it's far less comprehensive than the UK service, so we've dropped it. I think you can also get things like there's Disney, HBO, I think Astrid mentioned. I think there are one or two others like that you can subscribe to.
Good to know.
And of course, there's Portuguese TV.
Yeah.
There's a couple of companies that advertise on our website too, on Expats Portugal, in the business directory that offer exactly that. So there's My Expat Network, which services UK TV as well as many other countries, and also Clear Media, which just do UK TV. So there are some solutions if you wanted to find those.
Clear Media is the one I use, but it's not just UK. You can sort of have it for Holland, Germany, France, or whatever. You just pick your country, and it offers you the popular channels available in that country.
It may also be if you do have Netflix in the UK and you just bring your account over, you'll probably be able to stick with your UK. For example, our Netflix is actually from Australia because we still have the Australian account from when we lived in Australia for Netflix. We didn't switch it over to a Portuguese one. So we actually watch the Australian version of Netflix from.
Oh, interesting. Okay, VPNs as well. For those technically able, a lot of people do use VPNs, virtual private network, I think that it stands for. Jeff, as well as being your heating consultant now, is also possibly your tech consultant, from what he's saying in the chat there. Umberto uses Astra. Tell us about Astra, Umberto. That's a satellite system, isn't it?
Yes.
And what can you get on that?
Well, basically because I'm mainly German speaking and I really appreciate German free television. I have Astra, but Astra has about 680 channels. So, and about 2,000 radio stations. Yeah.
Keeps you busy. Okay.
Well, I don't know what it is all. Yeah, I have only what I want to see and what I have. Basically, but I have also BBC News. You can see also on Astra, Al Jazeera, all this kind of programs. You will have that.
Yeah, and with Vodafone and Mayo, I know for sure you get BBC News and you get BBC Entertainment. I guess it depends what sort of depth you want to go to. One angle of depth is the Premiership, and that was a question that came in from Dom. I'm guessing, rather than Lisa, but I don't want to be sexist about that. Is the Premier League available in Portugal? It can be done, but I don't have that myself. Jerry, do you have access to the Premier League? Or is that...
I'm not a great football fan, so I don't have it, but it's available. If I pay another €5 a month or something, I can get it all.
Fantastic.
Yes.
That's good to know. So another £5 on your 15 there with the system.
Something like that. Yes, yes. That's through that Clear Media company, as Astrid said on the site. And then you can always ask them the direct questions on that.
Great stuff. That's worth going to our business directory for Clear Media. Really good. Okay.
And I think, Humberto, I think the Astra satellite system used to also supply the UK TV channels, but then I think they changed it. Yeah. There was a major panic in Portugal when they changed it, and people ripping out satellite dishes and not knowing what to do.
Gary, what I was saying is that you have BBC News, World News at the moment, but basically it's for it's Arabs and German speaking, basically. Yeah. But you can get the dish and connect it to another satellite, and then you have Eurosat, which is basically where you get all the Spanish channels and Portuguese too, if you want. So it depends also if you have a fixed antenna or if you make a rotating antenna so that you can get different satellites.
Yes, I think that might have been actually the one where they took all the English channels away, all the popular English channels. I have heard of some people, offering the Sky service here, but I do question how legal it is and what they're doing, and people should be wary of that also.
Yes, we can't.
Probably all of it should be questioned legally, but
we cannot publicly endorse that sort of behaviour.
no.
So mobile networks 4 and 5G, Portugal is well placed in the vanguard of 5G. Aveiro district, for example, is going to be a smart city and is very proud to be part of 5G networks, as I'm sure the capital is as well. So Portugal, progressive in terms of technology and that sort of infrastructure. So you can look forward to 5G definitely, and pretty much everywhere else 4G. Does anyone use a hotspot, says Rebecca? I have done in my early days here in Portugal. It can be expensive, Rebecca, to use a hotspot. It's doable, but they are limited. And yeah, if you've got kids or whatever, and they're spending a rainy day watching a lot of Netflix or whatever, it can add up. So hotspots definitely available, but they can become quite expensive as well. But shop around for different sorts of deals and go off-piste from the major providers of Vodafone, Mayo and NOS as well, to see what else is available. And again, another reason to be asking that question in the forum as well, because people find the most incredible little niches and nooks and crannies of value in our forum, and we'll share that sort of information with you over there. Okay, so mobiles then. Tell us about your mobile deals. Should we start with you, Pam? What sort of mobile deal have you got?
Not very exciting because I don't use it very much. I've just got a pay-as-you-go Vodafone deal, which you just top up at the multibanco, and I think they charge $2.50 once a month. I think it's once a month.
Okay.
Just keep the number. But
when you say 250, you're talking about €2.50.
Yeah.
See, that's amazing. That somebody here was talking about spending 100 a month, I think, on their.
No, that doesn't include calls. I top up and pay.
Oh, see. Okay, all right. So what's your likely budget going to be then, based on top of that?
Honestly, I only use my mobile to call my husband or to text shopping list, and we're never apart at the moment. So very, very small.
Okay. All right.
£10, not every month.
Okay.
€10, sorry.
Less than €10. It's a hard habit to get out of, Pam. So less than €10 for mobile use there. That will really leave a lot of North Americans agog, I think, with how cheap it can be. Hayley, what about you and mobiles?
So I have a Mayo connection, which is 5G. I pay because I took it for 2 years, the contract, when I just arrived to Portugal. So they gave me a deal, which is $13.99, but I get 3 GB every month, 1,000 SMS, 1,000 minutes. So yeah, though I don't use that much because I barely use I have Wi-Fi at home. And there are a lot of Mayo Wi-Fi spots all over the city, in libraries and everywhere. So I just connect to the Mayo Wi-Fi network. So I don't even need to use my data outside. When I get a Mayo network, I just connect to the Mayo network at the Wi-Fi hotspots. Yes.
That's an interesting point you make, because most cafes, restaurants, public places even have free Wi-Fi, don't they? It's free.
Much better than the UK, I think, for that.
Okay, comparison there, much better than the UK, and people are very generous with it as well. You go to cafes, it's pretty amazing how you can connect to Wi-Fi. But it's a weird sign of the times, isn't it? A lot of people will just be thinking, what is the point of me having this mobile phone for these last few months and possibly a couple more? Okay, other mobile info. Astrid, did you have a deal you want to share with us?
I have a prepaid plan that I need to top up every month. It's €20 a month, and sometimes I don't know how much data I've got, but sometimes I can run out if I'm using it as a hotspot with my computer if I'm somewhere, but it very rarely happens. But what I had discovered recently when I was trying to buy a new phone is that Portugal no longer offer packages for a phone and plan, which you can pay over a duration of time, which is just crazy. So in Australia, you can pay $50 a month and get a phone and your phone plan, and you pay it off in 2 years. You own your phone, and then you can go into a different plan or upgrade your phone. But I discovered that they're not actually offering that here in Portugal. You actually have to buy your phone outright and then go on a plan, which I think is a bit inconvenient because they can be very expensive if you want a decent phone.
Yeah.
Or buy a phone before you come here.
Making sure there's no lock on it.
Yeah, making sure it's not locked is probably a good thing to do.
Yeah. Handsets are expensive in Portugal for sure. Jerry, you've obviously got your mobile system sorted out with your other package. Do anything?
Yes, mine is in a package, but I think Haley made a very good point about the data roaming. The fact is, you know, I don't have a problem with data roaming, but I'm probably paying a premium to not have that problem. And the fact is, as Haley quite rightly points out, every cafe, every restaurant, they all have good Wi-Fi. And so why am I paying this? So that's something I'm going to look at, thanks to Haley's common sense there. And yes, one of our local cafe restaurants has fiber, and I often will pop down there for a beer and a surreptitious download.
They know you're doing it, Jerry.
Of course they do.
Here he comes again. Yeah. But what a lovely habit to get into, everybody. That's something to look forward to, isn't it? Having a Sagres or a Superboc and downloading something at your local cafe. As long as you're a regular, that's fine. Umberto, I suspect you'll have an interesting a point of view on this.
Well, my package, I have a simple Vodafone package, which was built up from an association that has created, which is a bigger package. So I have very nice conditions. So I think I pay for internet and a landline. My internet is 28 a month. It's everything, no limits, and it's connected also my mobile phone on it, and it gives me 3,000 minutes and 3,000 SMS a month and 10 gigabytes download.
Woo! Good deal.
It costs me in the total, I think, 46 euros.
Very good. Okay, so all of that, 46 euros, that's really good. The other thing that can happen with the packages is that you can get second handsets, of course, as well. I think the latest deal I've got with Vodafone, because I couldn't leave them, I went into a really bad contractual difficulty battle with Vodafone. Contact me separately about that if you get into any hot water with that sort of stuff, or through the forum. That's what I was saying before. Be very careful with contracts. You will think if you move house and they can't provide you with a connection to your new house, you're free to go, which is what you're led to believe. But what actually happened was I got fined or a penalty fee for wanting to leave a phone company that couldn't provide a service to me. And what we've ended up with is that I think they've won, but I haven't lost, is how I like to see it, how I've reframed this experience of working with Vodafone. What will happen is they'll still want you to have a 2-year contract with them. So one way of not paying the penalty fee that they'll inevitably try and charge you is to move it. So that's what I've done. I've taken up a new Vodafone deal. And I think mine it's a very good, it's not unlimited, but there's more than I'll ever need on there, and a good allowance of gigabytes, 4, I think, a month. My first handset for me is about 24, and the second one is 13, I think. So it's a husband and wife combo there for that sort of money, and we don't tend to run out too much, especially at the moment, of gigabytes. So not unlimited, but as you can tell, I think across the board they're pretty good value on mobile phones. But be careful with the cost of handsets. Maybe bring one with you, but make sure it's not locked to a network, because then you'll just have an expensive paperweight on your hands there. Thanks for all your comments and questions in the chat. I'll do my best to come back to as many of those as I can. Team members, Astrid, Jerry, Haley, Umberto, Pam, anything you want to add that I might have missed, or you want to chip in with?
You mentioned fines, and I think it's just worth mentioning here in this conversation that it's very easy to get fined in Portugal through the fiscal office. For example, I missed paying 3 road tolls 5 years ago, and those tolls amounted to, I don't know, 18 euros in total, and it's just cost me 160 euros or something to settle the fines.
Ouch.
And they don't chase me, they don't tell me. I'd forgotten about them. They just send it off. Eventually, they get fed up and they just send it off to finances, and finances imposes a fine. And if you don't pay the fine, they add another amount to it, and so on. And they'll actually put they can do things like put charges against property and stuff like that. I was in the process of selling a house, and literally within 24 hours of signing the deal, someone discovered that there was a retention on the house for another small non-fine payment of 28 euros or something like that. But I had to go and pay it before I could sell the house.
That's worth knowing about.
And it's worth mentioning that in some ways I respect the way that the Portuguese, you're not allowed to get away with it, and I respect that. You know, I'm now getting into the habit of checking on my fiscal account, you know, once a month, just to see if there's anything there that I don't know, that, you know. But it's quite surprising how easily these fines can mount up. So I think it's worth mentioning.
Thank you for that. Yeah, and I guess that we'll roll that into another motoring webinar, the cost and how to get a transponder and all those things for dealing with tolls. But that's a really good point. Thanks for that, Jerry. Lynn is asking, Carl, you mentioned giving the things back. I'm in the router, and if they give you a landline, you know, one of those sort of roaming landlines, and your router, anything that the company gives you to use your internet or phone or whatever, not your handset, mobile handset, because you'll own that more than likely, but the routers, that sort of kit, and the TV box, that is not your property. That's their property. They're kind of renting it to you for the duration of the contract, and they'll want it back. Otherwise, they'll charge you a lot of money for it. Let's see what else. Yeah, Fire Sticks, Google Fi, and Google Voice Work. These are things I'm not sure about. They're a bit specialist. Again, please ask in the forum, and I'm sure we'll come up with an answer for that. There was a question about bringing roaming phones from your country of origin. I have had a UK phone on a really good deal for the last 3 years, and I keep expecting it to be cut off at some point, where they say, and I think this is the case eventually, is that it might be worth keeping open your old phone and bringing it with you, and having a good roaming deal if that's what you can get. But I would recommend getting a Portuguese phone and number as well. And obviously you can get a dual SIM handset as well as one option too, so that you can run both numbers. But I think providers in other countries don't really want to do that. They don't want you using a phone abroad necessarily. It's the sense I get of that. I'll be open to other people's input and comments on that.
Could I add just one quick thing on that, Carl?
Please,
I see a lot of people, particularly coming from the UK and keeping their UK phones. And the fact is that the local merchants, the builders, the painters, whatever, the gardeners, they won't call those numbers.
Ah, yes, interesting.
And people seem to forget about that, but they're not going to call those numbers because, of course, it'll cost them extra to make that phone call.
Yeah, yeah. Good, very good point, Jerry. It sounds like these things are learned from a bitter experience.
Yeah. Well, not actually that one, not in my case, but that's just once.
Glad to hear it. Yeah, and obviously as well, with so many security things happening now, where they'll send you a message. That's another good reason, I think, to have a Portuguese number, is if you have a Portuguese bank account and they'll want to send you, or Revolut or something like that, where they want to verify security, Google even, it's probably a good idea to have a native phone here in Portugal. Do many Portuguese use WhatsApp? Yeah, loads, absolutely. However, a lot are going to Signal and Telegram for reasons that have been all over the media recently. So the thing we were going to go back to was AC as well, and solar, and Umberto and Pam, I think, can give us also the numbers on buying leña, timber for your wood burner. Pam, how much are you spending on wood?
For one load, which I'm not sure what the quantity is, I think it's 1,000 a ton.
A truckload, isn't it?
A truckload.
A truckload, yeah.
It's 120 euros.
Okay.
And normally, if it's not,
that's a ton.
That will last us a winter. But this year we have had to buy more already.
And it's quite exciting, isn't it, having wood? Is it just me, or do you find it exciting to have a truckload of wood delivered and stack it all and be involved in that very visceral heating process?
No, because
No.
my next door neighbour, my next door neighbour brings it. I just take
Yeah.
the car out of the garage. I just pay him later.
Amazing. That's
I
great.
don't
That's a
have
good service. They stack it for you as well.
Yeah, he's my
That-
next door neighbour.
Can't be bad for a ton, can it? Do you know, talking of neighbours, I heard a lovely thing about Portugal yesterday. You can leave your door open in Portugal. Not only can you leave your door open, when you come back, there'll be a bag of oranges inside the house as well. Umberto, how much are you paying for timber?
I usually pay between 85, 90 euros a ton. And I need for my winter and for my system in the homes about 4 to 5 tons a year.
Okay, good to know. Thank you for that. If I stay with you for solar and air conditioning, do you use an air conditioning system? That was a question that came earlier on. Air conditioning in Portugal.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't need it really, because if you learn a little bit how to ventilate your house in the summer and the winter, it is amazing how much energy you can save. So in the summer, my home is very good insulated. So if I ventilate it during the night, for instance, it keeps very cool for the whole day. So next night you have the opportunity to do it again. And so the house will keep a very comfortable value of temperature in the house. But I can imagine that an air condition can help for some people.
Right. Join us in the spring or summer for Umberto's webinar on how to keep cool like a Portuguese person. Because I tell you, it is an art form. It is. When you get to Portugal and you've come from a cold country, you throw all the shutters up, you open all the windows, and you sit in the sun and you say, this is amazing. All the flies come in for one thing, and your house becomes unbearably hot for another thing. And you think, how do these people put up with this? So Umberto, I hope, will do us a special webinar about that, on that ancient art of keeping your Portuguese house cool. I think that deserves a webinar of its own. Team, anything else you want to say about air conditioning before we move on?
Sorry, no, I don't have air conditioning.
Okay, so you know the art of keeping your shutters down and so on.
Well, I live on the 12th floor, so we get a lot of ventilation.
Okay, very good. Pam, Alcobasso, I know it can get very hot in the summer.
It never gets unbearably hot, no.
Okay.
And we don't have air conditioning.
All right. So there you go.
It's quite windy, Alcobasso. I think that helps.
Yes, of course. Some natural ventilation there. Tammy's definitely signing up for the webinar, Umberto. We've already got somebody signed up for that. Jerry and Astrid, air conditioning?
We don't have air conditioning. We just use the shutters if we need to. Yeah, so no air conditioning units.
All right, Jerry?
Yeah, same answer. We occasionally run a fan at night, just, maybe 2 nights a year. We might need to have a fan just blowing the air around. Otherwise, it's fine here in central Portugal. But when I lived in the Algarve, I had air conditioning and I needed it just to sleep.
Wow.
In the peak of the summer. But then it wasn't so cold in the winter. So
yeah,
it's.
So there you go. Way down south, definitely get some aircon, and then it varies according to your native skills in the rest of the country. Rebecca, great question. Can you give a quick list of where each of the experts live? We can tell you that now, but I would go to our Ask Our Expats section on the website, and there is a map showing you where the whole team, and we have quite a few people now in this team who will advise you on areas and lifestyle, right across the board, all this sort of stuff that we've been talking about tonight. So do go to the website where it says new Ask Our Expats. Haley, where are you?
In Lourdes. That's a little to the north of Lisbon, but in the district of Lisbon.
Thank you. Umberto, where are you?
I'm in Madabon, which is close to the border of Spain, in the natural park of Serra Med.
Okay, thank you. And Pam?
Alcobasso, which is about an hour north of Lisbon, just in from the coast.
Fantastic. I'm in the Aveiro district, little bit north of the middle, if that makes sense. Jerry?
Well, I'm actually not an Ask Our Expat, but I live in near Tomar in central Portugal. You can easily find me on the website, so I'm happy to answer any help. And I know who the other Ask Our Expats in the area as well, so I can refer you to them.
You can twist Jerry's arm in the forum, believe me. And Astrid?
I am in Sintra, and also we have a country home in Castell which is not too far away from Humberto, my friend.
Fantastic. Rebecca, do check out the whole map of the whole country at expatsportugal.com.
I
Go on,
think there's some
please.
questions there about water.
Oh, we didn't do water, did we? Let's finish with water. The primary thing, we're going to finish with it as a little plot twist here. So water. Pam, can you tell us about your water supply?
I can. That's the one bill I've not got up.
Sorry.
It varies a lot, suspiciously a lot here. I'm not happy with the water. It's expensive, I think, for 2 people. We pay between 25 and 45 euros per month.
Wow, okay.
Obviously, we've got no pool or anything. It's an apartment. Yeah, I need to have a discussion with them because it varies. The reading doesn't vary much, but the actual bill varies.
Interesting.
I'm not sure what they're doing.
All right. Okay. And of those skills that Pam's got there for negotiating with the locals, I think you can enlist as well by hiring her from the Oscar Expats team. Hayley, what about water for you?
It's the same for me. It's around 25 to 30 on an average for the whole year. So I mean, I've been here about a year, so it's about 25 to 30, yes, per month.
Humberto?
Well, in my case, I have only a water hole, so I just pump it up.
Humberto's got the most amazing setup, hasn't he? With every answer we've had tonight, Humberto's living an enviable lifestyle.
It's for free.
Yeah. Jerry, water.
Yes, about 30 euros a month for city water. But luckily we also have a borehole, so that all the gardening and the pool and everything else is fed by that, and that's free. So 30 euros a month for domestic water.
Thank you. Because it tends to be metered, doesn't it? I think there's an amount and a meterage which can affect, which is probably what's going on with Pam.
Yeah, I think also they estimate quite a lot. And so you can certainly see a high. I mean, I've had variances where it's gone up to 80 euros and then it's gone down to 6 euros the following month.
No, we give them a reading.
Sorry?
We give them a reading online every month.
Oh, you do? Okay.
All right.
Okay.
But I think there's an issue should put. Normally, the sewage or the garbage that is going to take the costs of taking away are put on the water bills. Most of the cameras in Portugal do that, like Lisbon and so on. So if you use a lot of water, like over 10 or 18 cubic meters a month, then you have a lot of garbage, you see. So the garbage price climbs on the water on the way. Yeah, so the calculation is based on that. That is also something that adds a lot of money on the water price itself.
Very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
actually, that's a very good point. In my case, we have a septic tank, but the fee we pay of the average of 30 euros a month includes emptying the septic tank once a year.
Oh, okay.
And there's a constant argument about should you empty it? Do you need to empty them or not? But I figure, yeah, just get them emptied. Once a year, it's not that big a deal.
Very interesting. And Claire, thank you for that comment. First 5 cubic meters of water are cheaper, and then it can rise steeply after that. And obviously taking into account what Humberto is saying. So there is a sort of kind of like a standing cost, and it is metered. And then you can have this sort of exponential rise in your bill by the sound of it. Astrid?
Sorry, I was just reading these questions that are coming. I missed that quickly.
Your water costs?
20 euros a month here. And in Castell we've always had bore water, very good bore water.
Yeah.
And so that's free.
And it is fair to say, is it not, Humberto, that a borehole is the same as a well?
No, I would say it's much better.
Okay.
Because the borehole goes very deep. My borehole goes through about 80 meters deepness.
Wow.
And we are on a hill, and the water quality that I have is really like bottled water. Yeah, so I have to say that it's good. Yeah, and if you have a well, you can have a lot of dirt getting in. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. And also you are not on the levels where the water is very pure. Okay, if you go deeper, you have cleaner water or better water. I don't know how to explain it that way.
No, that makes complete sense. That makes the well is at a natural level. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my hole is about 80 meters deep, and over the years it makes a little chamber, so you have a water. So for instance, in this area while we are in a hill, so I depend a lot of nature for having water here. So I can't just only open up the tap and I have a supply, because I will not have. Yeah. So what I have to do is, what I have found out is, if you go that deep, and after years it makes a bubble, so it has a more capacity of storing the water.
Okay.
Yeah. But if I, for instance, in the summer, I have a possibility to take about 3 to 4 cubic meters of water in about 6 hours, then it's off. And then I don't have water. I have to wait at least 2 to 3 hours to get it again.
That's very natural, Humberto.
Yeah. So in the winter, you can use whatever you want, as long as it rains.
Hey, which it is at the moment. So, Humberto, did you say you had a guest house?
Yes.
And is it available for hire and visits?
Yes, sure.
Okay, everybody, look, he's talking about this water that comes from 80 meters. That's like bottled water. He's on the border with Spain. It sounds like an amazing house. So get in touch with Humberto for that service.
Yeah.
Humberto, you've been amazing tonight. We're an hour and 15 into the call tonight. Everyone's been amazing. Humberto, thank you. Pam, thank you. Haley, thank you. Astrid and Jerry. Lot of information there. And of course, anything that I didn't get to, please ask in the forum, and I suspect we will do another one of these, because it's a very popular topic.